Did you know references to Loch Ness Monster or Nessie date back to 500 AD, just over 1,500 years ago? And did you know it is believed in some circles that Nessie could be the last surviving creature from a dinosaur species similar to plesiosaurs? And did you know that over the years there had been over 1,000 claimed sightings of the Loch Ness Monster? Hi everyone, Momo Snudgeme here as always, and today I have for you the legend of Loch Ness Monster. So let's gear up and dive in. Loch Ness. Large, deep, freshwater. Loch or lake. Named after the River Ness, which flows from its northern end, wrapped around the beautiful landscape of the Scottish Highlands, approximately 37 kilometers southwest of Inverness. Stretches over an area of 56 square miles and runs 227 meters deep. In it swims many a fish, like the European eel, the northern pike, sea and brown trout, European sea sturgeon, Atlantic salmon, Arctic char, and the Loch Ness Monster. Now, legend has it that Nessie is long and thin, usually green with black humps, tail, and snake-like head, and she's shy. When she's emerging from the water, you can just see her body breaking through the waves, and you'll be strangely mesmerized by the sight, taken in by the spell, and you'll instantly know that you saw her when you spot perfect circles of disturbed water that she leaves behind as she swiftly disappears again to the depths of the loch. Although some would like to believe it true, like myself, till now Nessie remains a mythical creature, a mythical sea creature in the largest volume of fresh water in Great Britain. Not unlike the mythical creatures in Scandinavian deep water lakes, accounts of an aquatic beast living in this loch dates back 1500 years. However, all efforts to find any credible evidence have so far produced inconclusive evidence. References to the Loch Ness Monster as Nessie have been found in Scottish history dating back to around 500 AD, from the carvings of the ancestors of Scottish people, the Picts. A strange aquatic creature carved into the standing stones near Loch Ness. The earliest written reference is from Saint Columba, the Irish missionary who introduced Christianity to Scotland. In 565 AD, he was on his way to visit the king of the northern Picts near Inverness when he stopped at Loch Ness to confront a beast that had been killing people in the lake. And seeing a large beast about to attack another man, Saint Columba intervened, invoking the name of God and commanding the creature to go back with all speed. And the monster retreated and never harmed another man. Obviously, that can easily be seen as his attempt of overcoming the existing mythology at the time of the land to usher in a new era of Christian mythology. So, let's dive in further to some other famous sightings of our Nessie. The modern legend of Nessie comes from 1933. A new road was completed along the shores of Loch Ness, which gave drivers a clear view of the loch. On 2nd of May that same year, the Inverness Courier reported that a local couple claimed to have seen an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface. The story became a media phenomena, with newspapers from all the way over London sending their correspondence to Scotland, and even a circus offering a £20,000 reward for the capture of the beast. After the sighting, interest steadily grew, especially after another couple claimed to have seen a similar beast on land crossing the shore road. Several British newspapers sent reporters to Scotland, including London's Daily Mail, which hired a big game hunter by the name of Marmaduke Wetherell to capture this alleged beast. After a few days of searching the loch, Marmaduke reported finding footprints of a four-legged animal, of a large four-legged animal. A Daily Mail ran with the headline, "Monster of Loch Ness is not a legend but a fact." Obviously, it had the desired effect, which probably was originally intended. Scores of tourists descended on Loch Ness and sat in boats or deck chairs waiting to get a glimpse of Nessie. Later, plaster casts of those footprints were sent to the British Natural History Museum, which reported that the tracks were that of a hippopotamus, especially one hippopotamus foot, probably stuffed. This deflated the mania, but the stories of sightings still continued. A famous photograph taken in 1934 by Robert Wilson, known as a surgeon's photo, showed a dinosaur-like creature with a long neck emerging out of the murky waters of Loch Ness, which led some to speculate that Nessie was a solitary survivor of the long-extinct dinosaur species Plesiosaurs. The aquatic species thought to have died off with the rest of the dinosaurs some 65 million years ago. Now, Loch Ness was frozen solid during the recent ice ages, so this creature would have had to made its way up the River Ness from the sea in the past 10,000 years. And the plesiosaurs, believed to be cold-blooded, would not survive for long in the frigid waters of Loch Ness. So this theory does not seem so plausible. Others suggested that it was more likely to be an archaeocide, a primitive whale with a serpentine neck that is thought to have been extinct for 18 million years. However, skeptics argued that what people were actually seeing were seaks, which are oscillations in the water surfaces caused by the inflow of cold river water into the slightly warmer loch. However, in 1994, it was revealed that the famous 1934 photo, the surgeon's photo that we mentioned earlier, was actually a hoax. The scale of the photo was misleading, and the monster it depicted would only have been about 2 or 3 feet long. In 1954, sonar readings taken by a fishing boat showed something large keeping pace with it around 500 feet below the surface of the Loch Ness. Amateur investigators determined to find Nessie kept a constant vigil. And in the 1960s, several British universities launched expeditions to Loch Ness, using sonar to search the deep. Nothing conclusive was found, but in each expedition, the sonar operators detected something large moving underwater, objects they could not explain. Now, before you complain about wasting taxpayers' money, such research and expeditions have other learning outcomes to further understanding as byproducts. So they're never really fully pointless. Now, in 1975, Boston's Academy of Applied Science combined sonar and underwater photography in an expedition to Loch Ness. A photo resulted that after enhancement appeared to show the giant slipper or plesiosaur like creature. Further sonar expeditions in the 1980s and 1990s resulted in more tantalizing but inconclusive readings. There have been several attempts to capture video footage of Nessie as well, with the most impressive coming from a lab technician in 2007. A marine biologist at the Loch Ness Center described it as the best footage he had ever seen, although he also just suggested the creature in it was likely an otter or a seal. A sonar image of a large object which seemed to be following a boat was taken in 2011. Later, a scientist from National Oceanography Center attested that it was probably a bloom of algae and zooplankton. You're right. Apple Maps in 2014 appeared to capture the image of a large creature lurking just below the surface of the loch. It seemed around 20 meters long, and although it has never been definitively identified, some suggested that it may just have been the wake of a boat. Naysayers. In 2017-18, Professor Neil Gemmell and his team from New Zealand's University of Otago conducted a research to catalogue all living species in the loch by extracting DNA from water samples. Following the analysis, they ruled out presence of large animals, with no evidence of a prehistoric marine plesiosaur like reptile or a large fish even, such as a sturgeon. Catfish and suggestions that a wandering Greenland shark were behind the sightings were also discounted. Now, the aim of the research was not finding Nessie, but to improve knowledge of what plants and animals live in Loch Ness. Oh, so they say. It seems more like a targeted propaganda against Nessie, if you ask me. They did find evidence of European eels and suggested they might be behind the sightings. However, according to Steve Feltham, who was recognized by the Guinness Book of Records for the longest continuous monster hunting vigil of Loch Ness, says was no big surprise. Even a 12-year-old boy could tell you that there are eels in Loch Ness, and he remains unconvinced by eels as an explanation for sightings. You know what? I like Steve. In around the start of 2020, a skeleton washed up some 120 miles away from the Loch Ness, and people suggested or believed at that time that it was a Loch Ness Monster. It was suggested that the creature escaped into the sea only to find itself unable to adapt to its new saltwater environment. However, the Scottish Marine Animal Stranding Scheme later confirmed that it was in fact the remains of a minke whale. So, it doesn't prove the existence of Loch Ness Monster. But it doesn't also prove that Nessie is dead. Now, I have some other interesting facts about the loch and its monster. So here goes. Number 1. Rain around Loch Ness carries peat or turf from the surrounding hills down into the water. The little particles mean that visibility under the water is poor, with the darkest of depths. But it also means it creates perfect conditions for a creature like Nessie to hide. Number 2. Loch Ness is one of the 4 lochs on the Great Glen, which is a valley carved by glaciers during the last ice age. Underneath the valley is the Great Fault Line, formed 390 to 430 million years ago, and can be seen from space. Number 3. The Loch Ness Monster has featured in Doctor Who twice. Once in 1975 Terror of the Zygons with Tom Baker's Doctor, and the other time in 1985 Time Lash with Colin Baker's Doctor. Number 4. Several songs over the years have been made about or with reference to Loch Ness Monster in popular culture, with my favorite being Loch Ness by Judas Priest in their 2005 album Angel of Retribution. Number 5. Files from the Natural History Museum suggest that the now late Prince Philip was so interested in the Loch Ness Monster, he proposed the Royal Navy be enlisted to help him search for the elusive creature. Number 6. Part of a 2005 triathlon included a swim through Loch Ness. Each participant was insured £1 million against bites from the monster. Number 7. In 1975, a pair of bottlenose dolphins were outfitted with vests holding lights and small cameras in order to help search for Nessie. The plan was called off, though, after one of the dolphins died on a stopover at Hull Aquarium. Alright, so that was a brief story of what I know about Loch Ness Monster. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And remember, until proven otherwise, beyond any doubt, Nessie is as real as you and I. Next time, we will dig a bit about the origin story of ramen. Until then, take care, be good, and thank you so much for listening.